Welcome to Books, Kids, and Creations, a part of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'm your host, Tracy Bloom, and today I have the honor and privilege of speaking with Jean Derespina, author of the famous Phoebe of Long Island, a dog book, which I love. Jean, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for asking me.
You are also the CEO and founder of the Marketing Gig.
Yes.
And you've spent about 30 years or so in marketing, but to make the transition from that to being a children's book writer, how did that come about for you?
I've had some very late in life changes, and you mentioned the marketing, which I'll talk about, but for a good part of my life, I was in the corporate world. And the last position I had was director of content marketing. And that was for a market research company. And then I found myself without a job suddenly. And so like everyone does, I was out there pounding away, trying to send out resumes and get a job. I was 50 something. I live still out in Suffolk County. We were in our house at the time, my husband and I. And long story short, I just struggled with, I did not want to go back into the city. I did that when I was a kid, that kind of thing. And I had been networking. I met so many great people job hunting that I decided I was going to give it a shot myself. And that was in 2013, and I founded the Marketing Gig. What I did was two people who I had met, one I knew from a prior company, I asked them to give me something, let me write something for them, give me something you need done. And all I ask in return is a review on LinkedIn. So they did that, and they became my first two customers. Worked out great. And that's where the Marketing Gig took off. But just to back up a little bit, I will tell you that I've always dabbled in writing since the 6th grade, because my mother loves to tell this story about how I wrote a story. I was asked to write a story, I guess, in 6th grade. And I wrote a story about children. It was a mystery and they were looking for a treasure. When I saw Goonies, I was like, that's like that story I wrote 20 years ago. It was along those lines. Yeah. And my teacher wrote, when I handed it in, too long across the top of the paper. And then when he read it, he crossed that out and wrote A+. So that was my first written piece. I don't have it. I wish I had it, but I don't. Yeah. And then over the years, I wrote children's books. My sister and I, she has 2 boys. We were writing books for children. I don't have any children, by the way, just as an aside. And I wrote a young adult novel, and these things are just kind of sitting there. When we were boating, I always said Phoebe would do something great, and I said, that's going in the book. That's going in. I have to write about Phoebe. And so that none of this is new as far as it wasn't like I woke up one day at 62 and said, I think I'll write a book. It was all a part of me. So in 2020, actually, when we were locked down in COVID, I kind of sometimes say it's my COVID book. It's what I did when I had nothing else to do. And that's true in a way, but it was also just time for it. It was, my husband and I had notes in the story, and we sat, I remember this, we sat down and we went through, let's put this in. Oh, we don't need to put that in the whole thing. And because some of the adventures in the story are true.
Right. I thought that it was I was so interested in learning about what parts were true, because I mean, you are obviously a passionate writer, and you love boating, and like the inspiration from your experiences, they shine so much in this book. And so, I even like some of the illustrations are,
I love that page.
so magical. And I thought, I wonder how many of these places she visited and, like you're saying, like took notes and said, this goes in the book.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Sailor's Haven is part of, if you're familiar with Fire Island, it's the barrier island along the south shore of Long Island. And there are all little communities in it. You can't go to most places by car. It's either ferry or private boat. And we used to go to Sailor's Haven and Watch Hill, which are both part of National Seashore. And that's why we went there. Some of the other locations were town beaches and we couldn't go if we didn't live in the town. So those were our two destinations usually. And Sailor's Haven was actually the first place we took Phoebe. We got her from a shelter, 10 weeks old, and we had been boating for a few years already, probably close to 10 years. And we decided we wanted to have a puppy. Everybody on boats had dogs. And so we went out puppy shopping. We wanted to get a puppy because we wanted her to know the boat as her life, it would be her life. We knew that. So we didn't want to, although we would have loved to rescue an older dog. At the time, my friends were all rescuing greyhounds, but I knew that wouldn't work with the boat. So we got Phoebe, and she was perfect. Yeah. And when I say the other thing is, she's been gone now since 2012, I believe, 12 or 13. And so I wish I would have written them when she was around. I could have fact checked with her more. But for example, when you said what's true and what's not, she chased a bird down the beach. I remember that day so vividly. My friend Jane would remember it because I went crazy. I thought, oh, we're never going to get her back. And, but I can't promise the conversation she had with the bird because that I can't confirm. I don't know. But some of it was true. When she was sitting looking at the deer when we were eating, things like that happened often. And even Alex, who's in the story, was a real dog, and owned by Les, who was a friend of ours and an acquaintance of ours at the time. I sent him a copy of the book. And yeah, so it was just, Fire Island was like home base for us. It was close to where we kept the boat, and the boat was our summer home. It's what we did every weekend for 15, closer to 20 years. And once a summer, 4 boats, couples we met and people we knew, 4 of us would take a longer trip, usually out east. In fact, all the times when we went with that group was out east. And that's Montauk is coming up next.
Okay,
So,
I was going to ask because I saw that Montauk was mentioned as a next book. Is that coming out this year?
I'm hoping. I just got a contract for it. I'm doing a hybrid publishing, which is what I did for the first one, for Sailor's Haven. And I spoke to the company, and like everything else, papers delayed and printing is tough. So prices have gone up, and the length, I told her I'd like to have it for Christmas. That's my goal. I might be able to do it, but if I can't, I can't, but I'm still going to do it.
Yeah. And for the illustrations, I mean, because they're so beautiful. I mean, every single one. And I love the feeling that each page evokes. Did you get to work closely with the illustrator on this, or what was that like?
The illustrator I got through the publishing company, and they have a whole library of illustrators. So we went through them, and we picked Amelina Jones, her name is, and sight unseen, just from her portfolio, which was very based around nurture, I was going to say, which was really important to us. The animals too. Or it was about Phoebe, but it's also about the place. And as I mentioned, this is National Seashore. There's no houses. There's nothing but trees and deer and dunes and the bay on one side, and walk 2 minutes and you're on the ocean on the other side. And it's just amazing. So the picture you held up is of the Sunken Forest, which is a real place there. And the Sunken Forest is a very unique, rare forest in the world. I know there are a lot of school trips there, and also it's so worth the trip. It's so worth the trip there. I used to jog through the forest. That was one of my favorite things to do back in the day. And it's beautiful. So yeah, Emelina just nailed it. She was
really
so thrilled with
did.
her work.
Yeah. And I would imagine that just from your travels and from these beautiful places, and of course your love for Phoebe, that you had so much inspiration to draw from. Were there specific memories or moments that you really wanted to be sure to include in here?
Yes, and that's what we just went through the Montauk, what's going to be in it and what's not.
Oh.
And you'll see in Montauk, she makes other new friends. In fact, I mentioned we traveled with 4 boats. One of the 4 was my dear friend Jane and her family and children. And I guess about a year after we got Phoebe, they got Rocky. So Phoebe and Rocky were cousins. And so Montauk is about Rocky, about, breaking through and becoming friends with somebody when you're kind of forced into the situation. But they were very close. And so, and there were things we did at Montauk, raft riding, the lighthouse, Gossman's. Montauk is just, a wonderful place. So I chose that for the second location.
Every piece of it just sounds so heartwarming. I mean,
Exactly. Yes.
It's a part of you. All of these experiences are, I think that's what makes the book so great, is that it's so genuine.
I'm glad that comes through. Thank you so much, very much. Even the famous Phoebe of Long Island, I say Long Island with my accent. I know I can't help it. I try, but it's useless. When I mentioned earlier, all boaters had dogs. We would pull into a slip at Sailor's Haven or Watch Hill, and somebody would say, "Oh, look, Phoebe's here." Oh. And same with us and their dog, but you never knew the people's names. It was crazy. And I would say, "What's that guy's name again?" "I don't know, but his dog's name is Alex, right?" Or something. So the dogs that Phoebe met at Sailor's Haven were real dogs. The little Yorkies also. And she had friends all over the place. So my husband used to call her the famous Phoebe of Long Island because everybody seemed to know her.
Right. She's like a little celebrity.
Yeah.
Another thing that I liked about your book too was the perspective coming from Phoebe, because most of the time you write or most authors write about a situation as they're watching it happen. But for your book, you talk about it as if it's, coming through Phoebe's eyes and what she sees. What's this deer? What's this? And it was just so, I guess, just really wonderful and neat to put yourself in the dog's shoes and go on these adventures. And I just thought how cool that was.
Yeah, that I don't remember giving that a lot of thought. I think that's just the way it came out. I honestly don't. I never wrote it any other way in any draft or notes or anything. So yeah, she was very smart though. She was exceptionally smart. And I know everyone says that. We have Raina now, and Raina's smart too. But Phoebe, we miss her. We still miss her.
Yeah, dogs are like they're family. They're family. I've had my little Min Pin Basenji. She goes with me everywhere. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day that I've not known my independent life without her.
Right.
In it, she's still here, but I'm like, man, she's been with me for over a decade, and she goes with me everywhere I go, and it's like you just become your little soulmates.
Right. When we finally stopped boating, we bought a house out here in Suffolk County. We were living in Nassau County for 20 years. And it's like, now what do people do on the weekend? What do we do? And we made some trips, and Phoebe came with us. It's very easy to travel with your dog. We went, up to Rhode Island a few times, up to the Adirondacks, obviously driving distance. But she was so great at traveling. That was that worked out. And then we got Raina, who there'll be a book about her. There has to be. She's amazing. We adopted her at 2.5. And my husband said, all right, well, where are we going to take Raina? And I was like, oh, we're still going to do this, you know? And he never knew anything else. You know, I grew up with a collie that went into the vet once a year when we went away as a family, but not Frank didn't want it. He wanted to take Raina along. We took her down to Asheville, North Carolina.
Ooh.
A few, probably like 4 or 5 times. Yeah, that, I don't know. We got that place in our head, and 13 hours drive, and we did it and loved it, fell in love with it. And it's one of those really dog friendly towns. So so Raina loved it there, and that was great.
Yeah. Well, I was so curious as far as what's on the horizon for you. Are you doing any kind of author events or book tours or anything like that?
Yes. Well, being as I'm a marketer, obviously, I received Adventures at Sailor's Haven in my hand in July. So I was a little late to get over into the gift shops at Fire Island because they shut down in early September. But I was able to get into 4 libraries so far. And I'm in a couple of retailers. So I'm going to continue to do that. I would love, love, love to do events, readings and events. COVID put a damper on that. I spoke to some of the children's librarians, and once it gets nice out and things are changing, you know, hopefully for the long run here, but I said maybe when we get outside we can do events.
Yeah.
We did one in a school. My sister came with me. She's an artist. And we read the book and we talked about the book. There were about 10 children there. And then I had bought folded paper, stapled, and I said, now everybody's going to write their own book. And we handed out little booklets and crayons. And the kids wrote the most amazing, that to me was just, it was so cool. One wrote about the famous Phoebe of, I forget what country she was from her heritage, and things like that. And it was just great. So I love kids. And obviously that's why I love children's books. And I hope to be able to do a lot with that. After this book, well, I think once I did this, the floodgates opened and I have like so many ideas in my head. My sister and I mentioned earlier, we have a children's book called The Worry Ball that I think has a lot of potential. I wrote it years ago, and it was something from her and her son about kids and anxieties and things. And maybe we'll do something with that. And Raina, I have an idea for her too. And we'll see what happens. I will say that I would like to look into, I'm learning this industry as I do it, more traditional publishing, because the hybrid or self-publishing gets a little expensive. And, you know, we didn't do this to get rich. We did it for Phoebe's legacy and for fun. And I'm having the most fun. So,
you know, what was kind of popped in my head as you were talking about school field trips and kids going out to explore. Have you ever seen those storybook trails?
Storybook trails? No.
There's certain parks around the country select a storybook, and they print off the story and they put pieces of it along a trail.
Oh, that would work.
To have this, you know, as a storybook trail in the place.
Yes.
You know, that
would be great.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yes. I am on April, I believe it's the 3rd. It's a Saturday. I'm going to be reading it at Smith's Point, which is a beach on Fire Island. It's a beach where, you know, with cars, and a regular beach like Jones Beach, or, you know, what happened was when I put About Fire Island on the inside of back cover of the book, I wanted to check it with somebody. So I got in touch with the rangers for the National Seashore. And I met this wonderful woman, Pat Riley, Ranger Pat. And we went over, she's stationed at Sailor's Haven, at Smith's Point. And I brought her a book, and a friend of mine was with me who's a naturalist, my friend Linda. And Linda ended up doing a walk last year with the children for seashells, and she knows all of that. And Pat just got in touch with me to do a reading next month, so I can't wait.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very, very excited about your books and all that's yet to come.
You.
And I appreciate you being here with me today. For those who would like to learn more about you, where do you recommend they go to check you out? Is there a website, or do you think should they go to Amazon?
You can get the book from Amazon, of course. I do have a website. It's famousPhoebeofli.com. And Phoebe has a Facebook page, which I'm very active on. So either way, or my email address is from the marketing gig. It's jean@themarketinggig.com. And yeah, any way you want to get in touch with me. I've sent people to Amazon to buy the book. I did a lot of direct sales for people who wanted them signed or addressed to, mailed to somebody. So I've done that. Whatever people need, I'm here to help. Wonderful. And hopefully get the book in hands of children.
Yes, lots of children. Yeah.
Yes.
And, one final question.
Sure.
For future generations, for future children, what are some words of advice that you have for kids that might pick up your book or might have interest in becoming authors themselves?
Read a lot, which I did. I read everything when I was a kid. I love children's literature, but reading is so important. And just start writing, journaling. A lot of kids still do. And I have an idea for a book about that, about a girl who ends up journals and because she wants to be a writer. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's me younger, I'm not sure yet, but definitely read and practice writing, and don't wait as long as I did.
Too late.
Do what you love. That's what I tell everybody, because I had a good career, but when I started the marketing gig, my husband told me, "I've never seen you this happy."
Oh.
And then he's so supportive. And then when the book came out, he said, "I've never seen you this happy."
Yeah.
My first job was at the Comac Public Library when I was 16, 17. I grew up in Comac. And now my book is on their shelf. I went nuts when I saw that they obviously I went in there and spoke to them, but I'm yelling, "I'm in the Comac Public Library!" So I sold a lot of books on Amazon. I did get excited over that too, but the libraries were just yeah. And I'm saying that now because that's what you want your career to do for you, so if you want to be a writer, it's ups and downs like any career you're going to try, but do what you love what you do, all that.
Good words of advice. Well, Jean, thank you so much for being here, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. You too. It's been very nice meeting you.
You too. Thank you.